and we're live to talk about overcoming trauma and hair loss. Whew. Okay, so I'm going to get right into it. Overcoming trauma and hair loss. This is something that I have kind of almost avoided talking about. I don't really know why. It feels like I don't know why. But I have a little bit. So I want to talk about overcoming trauma and hair loss. And there are three things that we're going to go over. This is a really, really, really big and deep subject. It's a big topic. Trauma is a big topic. Overcoming trauma is like, I could speak for hours, and there are many, many layers. There are many, many ways to do it. There are many, many ways that trauma shows up in everything. So today I'm just going to go over three little points that kind of are like a beginning place to begin looking at things from. Hi everyone that is joining. Please send me a little emoji if you are here to speak about it. What I'm going to talk about, I'm going to speak about it from a lens of hair loss, because that's what I'm here for, but it also is applicable to a lot of other things in life, right? Depending on where you are kind of in the holistic wellness industry and where you are kind of in your inner work, you have a different understanding of trauma. So that's the first thing that we're going to go over. Hi, Sandra. Okay, so I have my notes. So trauma, what is trauma? Most of us understand trauma to be something that is a traumatic experience. So something like that, kind of like the first thing I think that comes to mind for me, and probably for you, is trauma in like going to war, right? Big life or death experience. Where you go to war, you have this, something happens, you're at war, like the whole world is ending. Right? So it's traumatic. And this is a big trauma. So that could be something like a sexual assault. It could be something like really, really violent. It could be something like, I don't know, falling off a bridge, or something really, 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 really big. That's like very close, or life or death situation. And we're going to use the word trauma with a big T for this type of trauma. Okay? Trauma with a big T. Then there's another type of trauma, and it's trauma with a little t. And when we begin to understand the definition of trauma, we understand how both of these can occur, and both of them can be both like really, really valid, really, really important, and really, really real. Trauma is, you can write this down, trauma is anything that the body goes through that the nervous system cannot assimilate in that moment. I'm going to say it again. Trauma is anything that the body goes through that the nervous system cannot assimilate in that moment. So I don't know if you're like me, but when I'm going through something that is too much, I literally start shaking, right? Or like my breath like gets really short and it feels like I'm having a panic attack, or I shut down, like I flood, I shut down completely, right? These are some signs that my body is giving to me, saying, nervous system can't deal with this right now. Stop, too much. It's saying to me, this is traumatic. Sometimes we're really conscious of this and we can feel it. Sometimes we can't. And it's happening, something's going on in the body, we don't know, particularly if we're young. So you guys know that I lost my hair when I was really young, and I know that a couple of people here have also lost their hair when they're really young. So if you're someone who is like, I can't really remember what it was like, I don't know, like I just don't remember, that's a sign that something has happened. You lost your hair, it was too much for your nervous system, and so you just like blocked. No, don't remember, not going there, that's uncomfortable, right? It's too much. I'm like, no, I can't do that. Is this making sense? Am I being clear? I want to explain this to you in a way that is like really, really clear. And doesn't use like jargon. Please leave me an emoji or a thumbs up if you're like, yes, and if you don't get it, and I'm not being clear and I'm blabbling, please tell me no. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we have big trauma. It can still be hair loss. For example, a big trauma for hair loss could be you go to the beach and it's like Bondi Beach. There's so many people there and your wig gets lost and everyone laughs at you. And like that would be a really big trauma, right? Because you're like, this literally feels like life or death. Right. For some people, that might be a small trauma. It depends on you. Neither is right, neither is wrong. A small trauma for hair loss could be something like you're at the hairdresser's and somebody finds a bald patch or someone's standing over you and they say to you, did you know that your hair's falling out? You're going bald. They're well intending. They don't even like, but that's traumatic to you because what it does is we all have this need to be accepted. We all want to be a part of the tribe. That is a part of the human. We are social beings. We need that to literally survive. So if we don't have it, then someone says that, you're like, oh my God, like I'm not part of the tribe. Like, oh my God. That can be really traumatic. Okay. Yeah. So everyone, you may have like some type of experience like that. To you, it may feel traumatic. To you, it may not. Everyone is different and we can't, like, just say that you and I had the same experience at the beach and you were like, it was like the best day of my life. Like, it was so cool. Like, I finally was out there. And for me, it was really traumatic. It's what it matters to us, right? We get to define our own trauma. Okay? Important note. Number 2, the body and the subconscious. So like, how do we know? How do we know that we are experiencing or have experienced trauma? 1, like I told you, we might feel shaky. We might be able to identify it in the moment. 2, we might look back on something and go, oh, that was really traumatic for me. Yeah, I can see that. 3, we might notice that it begins to be stored in the body, in the physical body, and in the subconscious. So as we know, trauma is something that overwhelms the nervous system. And when something is overwhelmed, it doesn't just disappear, like it doesn't slide off you. It goes inside of you and it waits until it feels safe enough to come out and be seen and be healed. Okay? So I come from a yoga background. When we think about yoga and somatics, trauma in the body could come, it could be you have really tight hamstrings, you have really, especially so, like your hip flexors, they store a lot. So you might feel a lot of resistance to anything that opens the front of your body. That's a really vulnerable pose. So if you're ever doing some type of class and you're like, I don't know why, like I literally just want to cry when I think about like doing a lunge. I don't know why. It's because there's just something in there that's like been stored from a couple of years ago, and it's just kind of pocketed itself away and said, I'm just going to hang out here until it is safe and she or he is ready to look at me, to care for me, to love me, to be seen. And once it's seen, just like everything, once it's seen, once it's experienced, then we are able to like redirect that energy and take it somewhere else, or alchemize it, or let it go. That's how we heal. We'll get to that in a second. So it stores itself in the body. It can look like tension. It can look like sickness. It can look like an overall aching of like, I'm so fucking tired. Oh my God. It can look like knots. It can look like so many different things. It stores itself in the body. And I was going to say it can look like hair loss. Different hair loss. Not genetic hair loss or autoimmune hair loss. And it stores itself in its subconscious, and then it like leaks out, right? So if it's storing itself in your subconscious, for example, I had that experience at the beach and I'm like, oh my God, my wig fell off. And now I just like avoid beaches. I'm like, you know what? I just don't feel like going to the beach. Like, no, I don't want to go. I just don't like beaches. Like, I don't know. I just don't like beaches. I don't like being in the water. Like, I don't know. Or if someone like pushes me to go to the beach, I'm like, I said no. I don't, like, you'll snap at them, right? Like, I told you I didn't want to go. And you have this large reaction to something that on surface level seems quite simple, right? It's probably because beforehand there was an experience. For example, maybe this happens, I think, a lot with partners. So if you're dating and maybe your partner or you have a partner and they might say something like, oh, I thought you were going to wear a wig. Because of a previous experience that you've had, you're looking at that comment through the lens of the hairdresser who said, oh my God, you're balding. And you're thinking, oh my God, he's judging me. Oh my God. And you get really upset. And maybe your partner was just like, oh, like, I thought you were going to wear shoes. Maybe I thought you were wearing the sandals instead of the Converse. That could be what that comment means for him. But you're seeing, because he might be so normalized with your hair, right? But you see it through a different lens. So we see it kind of like leak out, and I could go so deep, and maybe one day I'll get on and I'll go really, really deep into the subconscious and how it leaks out into our day-to-day life. That's a different topic, but it does. Healing trauma. Was that good? Was I clear? I feel like I'm trying not to go on a tangent. But I'm trying to be clear and thorough. So give me a thumbs up if you're following. Give me questions. If you have questions, start like typing them in the comments so I can get to them. Healing trauma, overcoming the trauma. This is what I promised. You know when you're upset and somebody tells you, oh, you're fine. Don't worry about it. It's really invalidating. You get more upset. Like when you're angry and someone says, calm down. You're like, what? I am calm. But if someone else says that I see that you're really upset about this. Yeah, it must be really hard. All of a sudden you feel like, yeah, it is really hard. And some of that weight gets taken away from you, right? That is the same thing that trauma needs. It needs to be seen. It needs to be held. It needs to be taken in like a little baby. Just reading the comments. So autoimmune wouldn't be a result of hidden trauma. As far as I am concerned, there are no studies that show that autoimmune is a result of hidden trauma. I've been doing a lot of research into stress and autoimmune disease. I've spoken to a couple of doctors and just like read studies. There is a relation between stress and autoimmune diseases and trauma and autoimmune diseases, in that many people who have autoimmune diseases experience more trauma and more stress, but it is not a cause. I think that having an autoimmune disease is stressful, and it would make sense for someone who has an autoimmune disease to at the same time, right? Trauma can make your body do a lot of things. It can inflame and it can make things worse, but there is no correlation. Like I welcome a study that says specifically this is it. Like if you guys find one, please let me know. But all of the studies that I looked at, that is just not, it was an idea that somebody has had, but it is not based in evidence-based anything, right? So yeah, if you find the opposite, please let me know. And yes, Ashton, tell me how to feel. Oh my God, right? Yes, it's exactly like that with trauma. So like trauma just wants to be, hi, Dante. Trauma just wants to be held. And like I said before, it's gonna come to the surface when it feels safe. Think of it like a little bunny that's like outside in your backyard. It's gonna hide. If it doesn't feel safe, it's gonna hide. And then like late at night, when it feels safe and there's no one around, it will come out. Trauma is the exact same. It comes out when you feel safe. So this may come out like in a relationship. If you have a relationship and you're like, oh, I'm accepted, I'm loved, boom, all your trauma is gonna be like, hey, let's deal with this now, right? Same with the work, like so many things. It just comes out when it's like, I'm safe. If you're in a yoga class and you're like, I feel safe, That's why yoga is so powerful to heal, because it tells your nervous system you're safe, and it allows the trauma to come up to the surface, to move through your body, to be seen, to be held and released, reincorporated in Shavasana, and then you come out into the world. That's why, because your body and your mind know that you're safe. Ash, I've gone through a lot of trauma training as a foster parent, and so often trauma we may experience as children can manifest later in your adult years. Trauma causes so many physical issues. Yes, I literally get like chills thinking about that, because it does. We may not even like understand it. Like we're like, oh, like I don't even know why I feel this way. I don't know why I'm doing this, because as a child we weren't able to like assimilate what happened. Yes. Big yes to that. I love that. The visual, I like it. Yeah. What are my thoughts on hips holding onto trauma? I've always felt emotional in yoga. I welcomed it every time. This is such a like, okay. There's a book that's in my Kindle that's like psoas. The psoas, which is the muscle that connects your upper body and your lower body. And it runs kind of, I'm not going to do a big anatomy session, but it connects kind of your upper body and your lower body. It runs down the front around your hip flexors, right? So this is one of the most important. It's called the muscle of the soul, because it really does store a lot. And we can go really deep into that, and maybe I will like in another moment. But what I want you to think about here is when you're stretching into your hips, right, you're usually opening a really, really important part of your body. You have a lot of vital organs around that lower belly area, especially as a woman. You have your kidneys, you have your reproductive organs, you have your legs that you really do kind of prefer life with your legs, right? You have so much there that it makes sense that it's trying to protect you there. It makes sense that it can go there and store things. Yeah. So you might feel that, like you might feel that there is a relation. So maybe a sensation or the fear that you have opening your hips, it reminds you of another fear, and it kind of like follows a thread there, and then you kind of open and release. Like that can be true. I'm hesitant to say like, oh, it definitely stores everything, because I don't feel that I can say that just based on my knowledge. And I think most importantly, everybody is different. I know that I don't really store much in my hips. Like I know that I store more in my upper back, and that opening my chest is kind of more of it for me. I just know that because I feel it. And I can say I have more trouble with heart openers. And when I do heart openers all the time, I can literally feel like the energy changing. The same way that you can probably feel the energy changing in your hips, right? Yeah, thank you. I love you. Okay, so overcoming trauma. Number one is, yeah, you can like physically do it, like with body work, with yoga, with Reiki, like all of these things, you can physically do it. But what I want, you guys know that I'm all about yoga off the mat, right? You guys know I'm all about like the life experiences. So we do need to do all of this inner work. We do need to do all of the shadow work. We need to do all of this. But the moment that your trauma is truly healed is when you kind of relive the experience that caused it. Taking my examples from earlier, the moment that I have the opportunity to re-heal trauma from going to the hairdresser and having everyone judge me is when I go to the hairdresser and it's amazing and it's so good. And I'm like relaxed, and I get a cup of tea, and everyone's like, oh my God, look at your hair, it looks so good. I'm like, yeah, it does. And I take off my hair and I put on my hair, and like, I don't know, I get a manicure, and I'm just like chill. And no one says anything weird, because I didn't feel anything weird when I went in, because I did the inner work, and then I went out and I had what is called a deconfirming experience. I showed myself that the belief that I had about hairdressers judging me is no longer true. Or I go to the beach and maybe I wear my hair because like I decided I wanted to, and it doesn't get lost in the waves. So now I know in my body, I had this belief before that like maybe I was aware of it, that like when I went to the beach I would lose my wig. And that didn't happen. Therefore, it is not true. We have to have the deconfirming experience. If you want to explore the more of the psoas, definitely look at the book Psoas, This Muscle of the Soul. It's in my Kindle. I want to read it. Really interesting stuff, because also like connected to your gut. Anyway, yeah, so we have to have deconfirming experiences. That is how we heal trauma. We do the subconscious work, we do the work with our bodies, and then we go out and we have a deconfirming experience. And that is why I wanted to embody all of this. And like I'm sharing an announcement later today. But that is why I put in milestone 3 of my program, going out, choosing a goal that is related to your hair loss, and going out and doing it and having everything go perfectly, so that you can embody the way that that heals, so that you can embody the way that that feels in your body. You can integrate that truth, this new belief that you have. You can change the meaning of that experience for you. So you can change the meaning of telling your partner, you can change the meaning of going to the hairdresser, you can change the meaning of putting on a wig, of going to the beach. You can have a whole new experience, and you can go out into the world and you can live with this empowering belief. Creating empowering beliefs is how you heal trauma. And now my TED Talk is done. Do you have questions? I'm just gonna chill. Oh, I don't have any tea anymore. This is also really important, why you need to have a trauma-informed practitioner wherever you are, especially when you're doing yoga, because like everyone has experienced trauma. Amazing. It is all our thoughts. Amazing is all our thoughts. Oh, you're sweet. Okay. Then I'm going to hop off the live. If you're watching the replay, I would love to know your thoughts and like what comes up when you hear this, and your questions and everything, because it'll be really, really cool to chat about. Thank you for joining me, everyone.